Good.
Yeah. Welcome to Warrant and Finance meeting for April 4th at 6 p.m. And the first thing is salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the March 28th, 22 minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Yep.
Again, tonight, we won't be voting on anything. Hopefully, we'll be able to start that next week. The plan is that the selectmen will be making some decisions Wednesday night, final decisions, and next week we'll be able to start making our recommendations. You see in your packet tonight, you have two ordinances, one the solar and one for rentals, and give you a chance to look through them. The planning board made some changes from our meeting last week. So next week, hopefully we'll be voting on them. I'm going to adjust the agenda a little bit here, unless somebody has some objection. Talking to Jennifer today, I had some concerns about the rates for the road departments. And so I'd like to move them up first so they don't have to spend the night here waiting for us to get to them. All right? Everybody's fine with that? Will and Adam, the reason I spoke to Jen about your rates.
You guys get over here, sir.
Because we had some conversation the week after we met with you guys, and I'm sure probably you guys have watched the video. And I'm going to speak for myself, and other people can speak. I believe that the handheld tools, whatever the terminology is, and the rate at the increase, the 40% increase in the rate at the town shed, with all the other rate increases, there's really no data to back up these two increases I'm talking about, all with a pay raise and $4 or $5 an hour for each piece of equipment, increasing the price of the sander. I'm fine with all that. So I'll just tell you up front that I would have to vote no on the rates for the two reasons I just gave. And what I would ask, if you would reconsider those increases or not. Those two increases.
Well, So, yeah, no, I kinda thought this was coming, Dennis, so, I did some, you know, some research today, and I get some numbers for you, if you're willing to talk
I'm
about
willing
it.
to listen, well.
All right, so today, this year, me and Adam talked today, putting out, loading trucks down to the shed this year, just alone, this past winter, has cost the town $7,400 this year. So, I went back, I did watch a meeting about, you know, talking about maybe like renting a loader or buying one
Yeah.
or something like that, so I did some phone calling today.
Yeah.
I called John Deere and I called Milton Cat in Scarborough, so, the first machine we got, if we wanted to rent one, would be, Cat 926, which is about a 2.5 yard machine. That one right there is, $5,600 a month. So, and then I got a price on a Cat 930 loader, which that's $6,600 a month. So that's equivalent to $33,000 in a 5-month period we'd be paying for. And I got off the phone with John Deere, and I got a price on a John Deere 544, which is about a 3.5 yard machine. That's $5,700 a month. So that equivalates to about $28,500 we'd be paying in a 5-month period. And then a 524 John Deere, which is about a 2.5 yard machine's $5,500 a month. So that's $27,500. Now on top of that, you have to get the loader, somebody's gonna have to put fuel in it, somebody's gonna have to grease the machine, okay? Then we're talking about insurance, registering it, you know, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I think, you know, the dollar an hour increase is more than reasonable, Dennis. I mean, I don't see where it's gonna benefit the town at all to go buy a loader, never mind go rent one for 5 months. I don't see it. I still think we'd be saving money either way, so, I mean,
I agree with what you're saying, well, that was just a conversation, and maybe down the road, we might want to look at that. I wasn't saying, I wasn't
I
saying.
got all that data, Dennis, and when I watched the meeting, it kinda seemed like we were, you know, it kinda just seemed like that's the road we wanted to go down, and I just, getting prices today is just, I don't see where it's gonna benefit me or Adam or the taxpayer at all, that, you know.
Well, we're talking two different things, Will. We're talking about buying a loader or renting a loader.
Yeah, that's renting.
No, I appreciate what you're saying, but I was talking about buying a loader.
You wanna know how much the John Deere 544 is, Dennis?
If you want to buy a brand new one,
Well, I'm assuming that's what we're gonna buy, right?
I don't know. This is a conversation down the road, Will.
Well, we're having
I
a
wasn't,
conversation right now, Dennis, because you guys brought it up last week.
I brought it up. You're right. I brought it up. I said, we're gonna need to look at this. The more this goes up, that we're paying to load sand, eventually, we gotta look and see if it's cost effective for us to keep doing what we're doing or buying a loader. That's all I meant out of the thing.
Well, that's fine, so that's why, and you say you backed up with data, so I backed it up right here. The John Deere loader, if we go buy it tomorrow, is $180,000. That's just, that's air conditioned heat and air IC. That's nothing special. I mean, and that's if we can even get one. I mean, the guy told me right now, he wouldn't even be able to get one right now. And then the Caterpillar was 210,000, you know, and I don't see where it benefits us at all, Dennis.
Okay?
Well, you sat here last week and said we should think about renting one, but
No, I said, if the prices keep going up, maybe we're gonna need to look at buying one.
how, Dennis? It's $7,400. It's only cost the town this year to load the trucks all in the lot. How would you justify buying a loader?
Well, this year it's gonna be up with this increase, next year it's gonna be up to 10,000. And who knows? I mean, a 40% increase is a huge increase. That's huge. I mean, you guys just got an increase a couple of years ago. 50-cent increase. Or $1, I don't remember which one it was. And, I mean, all the other departments have been told that they need to, I'll use the fire department, for example. And the same thing with you guys. You guys wanted $40 an hour. And what you were told was, we're gonna move it up 7% this year, and then next year we'll do it some more. And so all I'm asking is, for these two rates, not to be as much of an increase as you guys are asking for, just those two rates. But it's obvious, up to you guys, it's up to you guys, it's up to the selectmen. I'm just telling you up front, because of those two large increases, that I'm gonna be voting no on your rates. That's it. I just wanna be up front with you and tell you my reasons why.
Does that mean no on all the rates or just those two rates?
They're all one article, so. Go ahead, Joe.
I think with the increase of the price of diesel as it is today, right today, perhaps the cost of doing that, moving 1 yard of material at this new price is justified in the sense that that's a qualified reason for going up. I'm not sure whether this is included with the price of diesel on the other end where you pay more, but it's something to consider.
Diesel doesn't get, they don't get the diesel hike on 350 per yard, only on an hourly rate.
Yeah, so they're getting more money on hourly rate, but still costing more money to run that machine, is that correct?
So, you're right.
Okay.
Correct, so, the problem is here, if they stayed at the 250 per yard that they were getting, with the fuel going up as it is, in theory, they would be losing on the other end because of fuel. So, in my experience, we've gone through, this isn't the first time that this issue's come up. This came up back when I was road commissioner, and there was talk about buying a loader and this and that. And the problem is at the end of the day, when you start talking about actual buying equipment for the town of Acton, you're getting into no man's land here. Where are you gonna go, where are you gonna stop?
No, I realize I do, yeah, I realize that. We're not ready. I mean, we're talking about this right here, and right now,
Yep.
today, going down and loading up a 7 yard thing at $1 more. Ed, what's it costing the machine to be run? It's gonna be warmed up, whatever, it's gonna be stored.
I feel like the percentage sounds scary, but the dollar amount is not scary, and I feel like it makes sense.
At the end of the day, with the numbers that they're putting through here, I did the same thing. When they were talking about they wanted to buy a loader or rent one or whatever, so I did the same thing. I came up, I gave all the numbers, and at the end of the day, you're talking almost $30,000, well, some of them are $30,000, okay? And when you're only spending $10,000 or $12,000, even with that increase, then you would have to do 100% increase on top of that to get to those numbers.
Right.
And, I just want to make it clear to everybody on this board that these guys don't work every day. It's not like these machines work every day, so when they are working, those machines sit down in that town shed for months at a time. They don't get to leave very often, because they're kind of stranded there. So, if they're only doing it for $11,000 to $12,000 a year, that sounds like we're getting a pretty good deal for our money right now, at the end of the day. So, it's just where do we go from here, As far as I know, the select board hasn't talked about buying any equipment for the road commission. As far as we know, that this has always been a job that was done by the equipment, their equipment to run it. That's how they make their living. And that's one thing too, is you gotta understand here, at the end of the day, these guys have to maintain, they have to repurchase. He lost 2 motors this year. Okay, those motors are $10,000, $12,000 a piece. If it was a newer loader, my loader, I thought I'm replacing mine, it's over $25,000 to replace the motor. So.
And it's a business, you need to make a profit.
Well, that's it, and then that's what all this is. And if you're looking at these rates, I think the last time we were speaking about it, when I was over in the corner last time, was these rates are 2/3 of what most people get. The average person out there, I don't want to say real world, but non-municipality world, are not working for these rates. And, you gotta make a dollar somewhere to keep these things going. 1 year I was loading out, I had 2 loaders break down. I brought down an older loader that I had, I loaded out for 2 weeks with that loader while everybody was fixing theirs, and I blew a tire on my loader, $800, bam, gone. You know, so it's not lucrative,
Right.
especially listening to the numbers he gave.
And you also have to understand that this equipment that they're talking about, is not just used for the town.
Correct, I do know that.
You know what I mean? So if a motor costs $10,000, well, you should use it throughout the year. And I'm not saying you're gonna make a bunch of money, but what I'm saying is, the rates we're paying isn't for that.
Right, but theoretically, all we can look
It
at,
is for that.
all we can
No,
look at
it's
is what
not.
they're doing for the town.
Right.
We can't be looking at what they're doing personally.
But at the end of the day, it is for that, because whenever you hire out your equipment, okay, I've got multiple pieces of equipment in York County, okay? When I do a time and material job, I have to include into my hourly rate, okay? Maintenance, operator, which say my day here, every day greasing, I'm paying $6 a tube for grease right now, okay? I go through a tube of grease a day, each piece of machinery, it adds up, okay? Fuel cost, you know, the regular, you know, hose blows or something like that, hydraulic fluid and all that. But you also gotta look at the end of the day too, is replacement cost.
That's the big number.
Okay, so, you know, these numbers, if you start to go around and start looking at equipment, okay? I spent over $400,000 the last 3 years on equipment, okay? It takes a lot of time to get that money back. And as that machine's, you're trying to get that money back, you're wearing that piece of machinery out, right? So by the time you pay it up, you hope that it's only half worn out, so that you can wear it out the rest, making some profit before any major breakdown, the track job or something like that. So everything is considered at the end of it. You've gotta make $1 on every job you do to make sure that you can cover all that. I sent 2 excavators in 3 weeks ago, I spent $6,000 on oil changes, between hydraulic and oil changes. Okay, the maintenance cost is stupid huge right now. So, you know, you gotta look at all those factors. It doesn't matter if it's working. The way I look at it is those loaders don't leave that shed almost all winter long. So those loaders aren't being used on the job. And if they are, they have to haul them back. So they don't get paid to do that.
I have a question.
Yeah, and Dennis, I only got these numbers, Dennis, because when I watched the meeting, that's what it, I'm not saying it was geared towards that, but that's what it kinda, you know, it was.
Brought up.
It was.
Yeah, I brought it up.
And I wasn't gonna come here and then beat the horse and then come back again. I wanted to, you know,
Oh, I agree.
that's the only reason I brought the numbers to you.
But at some point, it might be cost effective for the town to buy their own loader.
It depends.
I mean, what I mean by that is, it's been cost effective for us to when we bought that new skid steer at the transfer station. It was cost effective to buy that instead of renting a machine to go up there, or hiring somebody to go up there and do what we do with it. And that's all I'm saying is down the road. Listen, I have no way saying that we need to go and buy a loader right now.
No, that's fine, but I guess, I'm just saying, when I watched the meeting, I'm
No,
not.
it's helpful to
That was-
have those numbers, 100%.
That was the impression you got, but I don't think, well, Phil, you had a question, you go first.
Yeah, well, just on what you're saying, that had nothing to do with, that's two totally separate issues, but
Right.
what I was gonna ask is, you guys have private businesses, obviously, and I'm just curious roughly ballpark, how much time, percentage-wise, of your equipment use goes towards the town in an average year? I'm curious, because I haven't.
Me personally, last year, 100%. My loader stayed down that garage all year. And if I needed coal patch, Will would use it. I use it. If I needed some fill, it was down there. I went back to my house to do a little work in my house, but other than that, I don't have an excavation business separately. I'm helping a friend right now in Parsonsfield, but that's it. I'm not out looking for work or doing anything. My main concern is the town. And that's it. So 99% of my equipment, unless it's at my house, really is working for the town. And like I said, my loader is down the town yard all year.
I didn't know that.
Then I guess my equipment, I wanna say is at least a good 50-50. I try to break it up as best I can, you know? I mean, I do town work as much as I can. I prioritize, you know, best I can, so.
And what Bill was bringing up before, because diesel cost is more, but isn't that dealt with in some way under cost of operation here based on fuel?
In the regular rates, other than loading at the sand shed.
Okay.
So our loaders, when we're loading at the sand shed, get that right now, $2.50. That's all it gets. So we gotta warm it up, fuel it up, grease it, do all that maintenance to it for the $2.50 a bucket. Basically, because we go that 2-yard bucket, so.
You guys pretty much leave your loaders running all the time.
All the time, because you don't want them shut off, they shut off, you can't get them started, then we're down another load. You know, unfortunately, I had 2 loaders fail this year. You know, so I bought older, used loaders to sit down salt shed and blew a motor in one, and I got major issues with the other one right now, so.
Yeah, in this case, it just, you look at $1, which is nothing, but then when you look at it as 40% increase,
It looks-
it has to be justified somehow, and,
It should be justified, yeah.
right, or understood at least, just
And it sounds like it's
because, yeah, it's $1, but it equals 40% increase for some reason. So that's why I was asking. Okay.
Thank you for bringing that information.
All right.
Anybody else?
Well, I think the beginning of the conversation when it started, Dennis, you had asked about the handheld tools and that increase from that aspect of it. And we did hear, and I do remember you guys talking about one blade cost X amount of dollars and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just look at it from that aspect of it. We're not talking about, we are talking about some maintenance, but not the same type of maintenance that is required to your loaders, excavators, and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that is an excess on the $4 that you're an increase that you're asking on that aspect of it. And we're just talking about the hand tools once again. That was the first subject that was brought up, not all the other stuff. So I think that the question that was asked was if you guys would reconsider for that aspect of it. I mean, from you guys' perspective, I'm sure that, you know, all this is justified, and in a sense, I agree. Like I said, we didn't know that you only used it for the town business and not for anything else. But I just think that's excessive from that aspect.
So I'll go back, I guess, to the original question. Would either one of you guys reconsider the rates on either one of those two things?
I'd like to stick to what we have
Is that the tools, the two we're talking?
personally. I think both in agreement.
It's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to point out the majority of the increases on these equipments are based on increasing the wage of the operator using them.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's what we thought.
But both road commissioners told me it had nothing to do with it.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Dennis?
Both road commissioners told me that the wages had nothing to do with it. That's what I thought the increase was for. And they both told me no.
I thought that's, as the wages went up for the laborer, we were trying to bring up stuff so it would coincide with the raises.
It's fine. I mean, like I said, both road commissioners, I said about it being because of the increase in the wages, and both road commissioners told me no. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Question, how many hours do you typically put in during the course of the year for chainsaw? I guess we're talking about chainsaw, handheld power equipment, is that the rate we're talking about? How many hours are we talking about? Roughly?
I guess all,
Could be 10, 20. I mean, I just built a chainsaw for half an hour.
So maybe 10 or 20 hours over the course of the year?
Yeah.
Probably more.
Well, it depends.
Well, let's say it's 100 hours, let's say, is that really outrageous, 100?
if you take about,
It depends on the jobs you have
go
going,
like your
right?
handheld out, power tool, I don't know if we're gonna like throw a compactor in there, you're putting culverts in,
Yeah.
you're using a compactor, you're cutting hot top, it all adds up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, when you're looking at the.
It's
the
$400, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's
It's
50 hours,
400.
it's $1,900 if it's 50 hours.
And you gotta remember, at the end of the day, you're talking that $37.99, okay, that includes the person running.
limit, yeah.
So then you take a guy, say he's making $20 an hour, which is $25 an hour by the time you pay taxes and all that other stuff. So you might as well, the chainsaw makes $13.
For every 100 hours, we're talking about $400. Have I got that right?
Yeah, no, it's,
Okay.
Well, at $13 an hour or $12 an hour, whatever David just said, that
I'm just looking at the
That's the
increase.
problem.
I'm just looking at the increase here, Dennis. It's,
But
Yeah.
I'm using.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
So,
yeah,
can you-
the increase is, is relatively small.
But like I said before, I mean, all this stuff isn't used exclusively for the town. This stuff is also used for their private work too.
Sure.
And the
Doing
town,
That
that.
absolutely has,
in the town,
We can't look at that, though.
Why not?
listen, let me finish, please. And what we have to do is look at, number one, this is a part-time job. Number two, the rates that they get outside the town, like it is in most towns, is generally a lot higher than what the towns pay. And so when you, like a compactor, for example, that Will just brought up, I got no idea how many hours he uses for the town. It's irrelevant. But the cost of that thing shouldn't be all on the burden of the town, is what I'm saying. So unless there's something else, guys, I'm willing to move on. Thank you for coming in tonight. I'm sorry for the short notice.
No issue.
And thank you for those numbers.
I guess the first thing we'll talk about, Michelle, is the transfer station.
Okay. I wasn't sure whether we were talking about that tonight or not.
Well, we're getting kind of short time here, so I guess we only gotta...
This budget includes some contractual increases, some increases to demo, based on the usage we've seen over the past 2 years.
Thank you.
The increase of hours for the transfer station superintendent, which will include building maintenance to various facilities that the town owns. 7% increase, 53-week pay.
Michelle, is that increase, that's a combination, right? The building maintenance here and up there?
Yes.
I don't think I do
Yeah.
either.
Currently, we're paying it out of 2 different lines, and this is just combining it into one line.
So all the salary will come out of the...
have you got this?
Transfer station?
Yeah, the superintendent.
Why wouldn't it be separated out?
Well, so the problem we found this year is, once this new position was created, is, I mean, we can dedicate 10 hours to the town, building maintenance, and 25 hours to the transfer station. But it's not, it doesn't happen that way every week. We found, you know, on weeks that it snowed, there was a lot more time being spent here shoveling. They were having repairs up there, on some equipment that they had to be there, and it had to be done during off hours, so more time was being spent up there, so we couldn't just have a salary and say, you know, 10 hours here and 25 hours there, so
Is this position gonna be hourly or is it gonna be salaried?
it's gonna be salary.
If it's salaried, then the number of hours they spend anywhere doesn't matter.
Well, it's, from what I understand, it's hourly, salary, assuming a minimum of 35 hours a week.
Well, I know, but if they go over the 35 hours a week, then they go over 35 hours a week. They're paid to do a job.
Right.
Regardless of whether it takes them 20 hours a week more to do it. That's what they are
Right,
paid.
it was just difficult in tracking where we're billing it to.
Yeah.
You know, whether we're billing it to general government, municipal management, or whether we're billing it to the transfer. So this is all in one line, so it's,
But a definition of a salaried job is you make a salary to do a
Right.
job,
Right.
not if you go over 5 hours over, then you get paid for that 5 hours. That's
Exempt
not
from
a
overtime.
salary job then. That's an hourly job.
So this will be maximum.
yeah, so this salary does
No
not,
overtime on a salary job.
does not qualify for overtime exemption. So anything over 40 hours a week.
It's effectively an hourly position.
Ideally,
It's really not a salaried position where regardless of how many hours you work, you get the same pay. Because this is not an exempt
Well, I
position.
understand that, but the words, it was said that it was
I
a
understand, they
salaried
use that.
position. If it's not a salaried position, then it's hourly, so we need to make sure we're not confusing our terminology.
Well, the problem we have is we want to do a salary position, okay? But the state won't allow us because of the amount that salary is. It has to be to a certain point, which we're almost there.
We're almost there, yeah.
Okay, and what happens is because we don't meet that guideline, it forces us to pay the overtime. We would like to correct that issue so we can do the straight up salary.
What is that threshold we have to meet?
off the top of my head, I can't recall, but we were very close, but we did get guidance from our attorney who said that he did not believe it would qualify even if we got the
That's right.
salary up there because of the blue collar work that was being
right.
done.
Okay.
We, though, indicated that this position cannot exceed, is it 35 or 40 without 40 without prior approval. So effectively, there will not be any overtime unless it's approved by the selectmen.
And the problem we're having this year was, you know, the individual would be doing his time up there, trying to get everything, you know, get times, figure out where you're gonna spend here, but when it came to the shovel and stuff like that, and, you know, if you get 3 or 4 storms in a week,
Yeah.
or you gotta come down and salt and do whatever, that's when we were having an issue with that, 'cause that would make it go over. So what we were trying to do was make sure that we prioritize, so that didn't happen again. So obviously, when the
is the
position
hourly
comes
rate?
through, we're gonna obviously prioritize that.
Well, yeah, there's a learning curve in learning,
Well, there was.
figuring it out, how to effectively,
He was trying to put in the irregular hours he thought he had to do there, not realizing that he could leave that position and come down to another one while someone was taking over at that point there to make the hours right. And so we're working on that at this point. We will with the next new position.
So what is this, the superintendent just staying at the dump at this pay increase? That's just, he doesn't come down to do the handyman,
That includes the handyman stuff.
he is a handyman.
so that's why they have the big increase of almost $13,000, which I would assume is the handyman salary.
It's effectively offset by some other part of the budget, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Where we were carrying the handyman salary before. So if you look at them combined, it's not that increase that you see here.
I guess the only reason why I brought it up to begin with was normally, if somebody's working for 2 different departments, they get paid out of 2 different departments, that's all.
How many, what is the increase in hours in this new position you're creating from what the superintendent normally did before you added handyman? Any idea?
10 hours.
Just 10?
Yes.
A week?
just to clarify, make sure I've got it right, that 10 is effectively what he's spending as a handyman, which was already in the budget. So, before we had a handyman and a superintendent, and the total of those two was what, 35 hours, more or less?
Total 2, yeah.
Yeah, so now the total of this position, which is a handyman slash superintendent, is still 35 hours a week. So the hours have not increased. Just to clarify.
I guess I'm trying to interpret under the description of 35 hours slash 53 hour week.
That's
Or 53 weeks, sorry, never mind.
Yeah.
It's one of those years, one of these years.
Yeah.
We have an extra payday.
Yeah.
There's a line added on here for wood chipping. That is a new line there. Kind of used to be absorbed into other things, but the price of wood chipping got to be a little outrageous. We used to be able to have somebody come up with $3,000 a year, and that doesn't happen anymore. So we created its own budget.
Is that chipping the brush pile? Is that what that is?
Once a year, well, sometimes twice a year. Used to, we would do, like when I was road commissioner, I would line up with Bob, and okay, Bob, I'm gonna chip my stuff down here, and try to line it up at the same time, so we normally would have like Simpson down there in Niagara Mill Road, he would come up and do our chipping for us, and, so, but the problem we have now is the cost of our chipping is well over double. So, yeah. The chippers there are cheap.
Can I ask how the salary for the handyman was arrived at? Because just quick calculations, 10 hours a week at 53, divided up into the 12.9, we're paying him over $24 an hour for
The
handyman?
maximum is $25 an hour at $35 a week. So, they're in the process of hiring. Based on somebody's experience, there's a rate that, a wage scale that they set for that. Currently, just the superintendent position is paid $25.75 an hour. $25.75 an hour.
He's also responsible for a $300,000 budget too, so, I mean, that's certainly justified.
We felt that any supervisors were between $20 and $25 an hour anywhere at this point. So we had to put in a number there that would, entice somebody with a supervisor's skill to be able to come and do the job. I mean, you're not going to entice them in the teens. So we had to make it enticing.
And what is the range again for the handyman?
$20 to $25 an hour, I believe is what, I haven't seen the ad, but I believe that's what I was told.
It's gonna be the same rate for both jobs though, right? I mean, it's not gonna be a different
Right,
wage.
not different rates for just
One combined position,
one
right?
combined position.
In all these jobs, I don't see any health insurance costs per employee. Shouldn't that be included in the
The
in the
health
cost?
insurance is in municipal management under Dutch government.
That's sort of thing. I mean, but in looking at each position, you're looking at what, $46,000? And then how much are you talking about thereafter? Are you up to $60,000 for that one position? And then,
I
people get
didn't
increases.
follow that. Could you run those numbers again?
What I'm trying to do is I'm looking at this position at $46,000, and now we've gotten through the handyman and the superintendent. But nowhere is there any indication what the health care or health costs are for that particular employee. Perhaps, you've got your social security and the other things.
Yeah.
What would bring up the real cost of what that job and, whatever.
I don't know a lot of organizations will establish a fringe benefit rate. And typically, that's anywhere from 20 to 30%, depending upon the organization. But an individual may or may not take health care, because their spouse may have it. So for one individual, your benefit rate could be 30%, for another individual, it could be 20. We don't account for it that way.
And you really can't anyways, because the withholdings, everybody has a different withholding and then somebody else, so at the end of the day, if you look at all the departments, like say we take roads, we just got done roads, you saw that where we were presenting the 3210, okay? That's obviously without any of the FICA, any of the other stuff that goes along with it, because, you know, they might take, do a single and one with dependents and this and that, so everyone's gonna be different, so you really can't give that number.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I guess I think that the insurance amount should be in here because that's part of running the transfer station.
We don't know whether or not they take a family plan or just a single person, or they take it at all.
Or they take none of it.
But they take none. I mean, isn't it sort of across the board, if you look at 25%?
That's why it's in a different line.
That's just
The
look
only
at
way you
it.
can do it, I mean, because if you actually determine the actual benefit cost for each individual, and then try to allocate that to each department, and then as staff come and go, their actual cost will change, whether they have health care or so on.
Right.
If we wanted to, we could establish, take all of our benefit costs, tax, FICA, retirement, health insurance, add it all up, divide it by the total salary base, and we come up with a rate. And you could charge that rate, if you will, to each department. We don't do that here. We carry it all in a municipal budget. But if there was an interest in understanding what the true cost of the transfer station was, that analysis could be done, but I'm not sure it gets you very far, to be
I don't
honest
think
with
it
you.
would change it wouldn't change these.
It's not gonna change
It's
it.
not gonna change
Go by what's
anything.
there now. You go by what their dependents and all that, who's taking what, you can do that at this time.
Yeah, but,
But at the end of the year, I know a lot of people will change they want more withholding or less,
Yeah.
and all that, so it would be a revolving book.
Yeah, but that income tax they pay has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
no, it's retirement and healthcare, not their withholding
You
from
know.
tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're withholding,
thought-
definitely.
No,
Some people get more withholdings than others.
that's on them. That's on them. It's not in our books. It's not in our books. That comes out of their gross pay.
But to be fair, so is the insurance. If they want to take
But
it, they
that's their
can.
choice too.
Exactly, exactly. You can choose to
Just-
have more or less
you don't know.
withholdings. You can choose to take insurance or not take insurance.
But normally what they do, and I think the school does this, when they lay it out, they would put in the maximum dollar amount for a family plan, for example.
That
Just so that people can see what they're paying for.
I gotta tell you, my experience, Dennis, has been you budget it based on the salary or the hourly rate. The benefit cost can be allocated, but as I said, the only way you can really do that, if you're gonna budget for it, is to do it as a percentage of salary.
Yeah.
And, if that's helpful for people to see that, I guess that's one thing. For me, it really doesn't, personally, it doesn't do anything.
No, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna get the right number.
Yeah.
If you did that, if you did what the school's doing, I understand. If you say, okay, well, we're gonna say this individual's gonna take a family plan, okay, but doesn't.
Yeah.
That would be false advertising.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is for budgeting purposes.
Yes.
They would budget the maximum amount per individual. And whether they took the family, a two-person, or a single family, and then at the end of the year, there would be money left over in that account if there's only a single person instead of a...
I mean, basically, you end up appropriating more revenue than you need because you're not going to incur all of that expense. So effectively, you're burdening the tax rate for something it doesn't need to be burdened with.
The only thing is including the insurance figures in here is you have the true cost of what it costs to have that person, on the books, so to speak. It's the true cost, and it's
It's an
not.
assumed cost.
I'm sorry?
It's an assumed cost. It's
still-
not a true cost.
Michelle, if I may, when you have your insurance in the municipal management, do you budget the maximum cost per plan, or do you budget? Because you don't know what everybody's gonna take next year.
I don't know what everybody's gonna take next year. Based on our current employees and the current enrollment is kind of how I look when we have this vacant position. This vacant position that we have to assume that, you know, they're eligible for insurance, that they're gonna take it.
When you budget for it, is it for full family? Because, I mean, because you're not gonna under
For
budget.
vacancies.
You know.
Is that for vacancies?
Yeah, for vacancies.
For vacancies only. Otherwise, it's the actual current trend of healthcare.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I just-
okay.
Michelle, because I don't know, and if I'm going down a wrong road, just tell me. What do we pay if I were to work here? Do you pay 50% of the insurance, or is it a matched amount, or what is?
Higher than that.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what it
so-
is, that's what I'm asking.
So it's 85% of the premium is what the town pays. And then it's a high deductible plan, which
Yeah.
used to be.
Well, you don't have to go through that, I know what you're saying,
Yeah,
yeah,
it used to be
yeah.
cost beneficial and, you know,
Yeah.
getting into this, conversation, there's another warrant article that's gonna be put forward this year to join into the municipal health trust.
Right,
It used to be cheaper to go with the high deductible and contribute towards the deductible.
And how much of that, would that contribution would the town do?
Towards the deductible, for first-year employees, it's 50% of a single. Second-year employees, it's 50% of a family. And then after 2 years, it's 85%. So running the numbers this year, assuming a 12% increase, because that's what we've been seeing at least every year, it's more cost effective now to go with the health trust, and those rates are more stable. You know, we're seeing 2 to 4% increase, you know, as opposed to 12 to 23.
yeah.
And,
Going back, I just have one other question on the deductible. You would put that into an HSA?
HSA.
Why would you not put it into an HRA?
Just based on the plans that have been accepted, they are HSA compatible. That's what the town decided to do. Gosh, I can't remember.
Quite a while ago.
Whenever Larissa
Quite a while
was-
ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10
So
years
you,
ago.
so you don't know why the HSA was decided on over the HRA?
We had an HRA prior to that. It was very burdensome on the employee, and we had quite a few employees that couldn't quite figure it out, and couldn't figure out how to get the money back.
I'm sorry, Michelle, we kinda got it straight here from the transfer station, onto the insurance, and that's later, and maybe we get all the answers for later now, so we won't have to continue that, so I apologize for that.
And that's no problem, and, you know, it was just a decision that was made, and we've kind of stayed with the same plan as it changes every year, because it's been really the cheapest way for the town to go and still give the employees a fairly decent coverage. Those times are changing.
Anything else on
Under the municipal health trust, there wouldn't be an HSA, that it would go away.
Any other questions on the transfer station?
Just looking at the budget for 2022 versus the proposed budget is 38% increase. that aspect. I understand that that's a combination of, the handyman, of what he does with this building, plus the transfer station.
If I calculate it right, we're going from 326,000 to 347,000. Are we all looking at the same numbers?
I know, I was
He's looking at the top number.
down at the top number.
Oh, I see. Because overall, it's a 6.5% increase in the budget.
Yeah.
And that includes the movement of the handyman's cost in here.
Chipper, and we went up on the demo, because the demo was, one of those deals there where, it was gonna go in the web this year, so because we don't have a superintendent, we decided to raise that, number up, so we don't have to worry about it.
The wood chipping's half of that.
Problem we have right now with the building in the town of Acton, so much of it, that, demo just exploded.
That makes sense.
What's that? Oh, I thought you said.
I know, I didn't say anything. I was going to, but I didn't.
I was saying it's from 19,000 up to 33, just the math. I think we're going to maybe touch on maybe some fees.
Yes.
Because of this, that's something that's probably gonna.
That was what I was gonna ask.
We
You must have heard the wheels turning, Dave.
We talked about it, some of the meetings there, where, the problem is when it starts incurring a cost on the actual taxpayers, that we're gonna have to somehow even this out here. So we're looking at doing some sort of fee. It's got to be about how and how much, who's going forward.
Fair enough.
Before we move on, I want to backtrack a little bit, back to the road budget. The last 3 years anyway, we budgeted to replace that roof down there on that tractor shed, and it's not been done in 3 years.
Is that on the road commissioner budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we do a budget this year, that the selectmen will get that done in another year.
So, Dennis, I wish the road commissioner was still here to answer that, but I have had discussions with Adam about that. And to be fair, I wanna make sure we're clear about this. 3 years ago, it was in the process of being worked, figured out. Our road commissioner passed. Then by the time we got the new road commissioner in, getting him in the, figuring out the job, this is why it's 3 years into it. He has had a couple companies come down and supposedly giving prices on it. He is working on that project, make sure that that's something we get done.
Because that money was appropriated, if I remember right,
Yeah.
before.
That was when Joe Latarzan.
When Joe was, yeah.
So,
Okay.
I'm just saying the money's been there every year to do that, and it hasn't been done. Moving on. I guess we'll go into the municipal budget. The floor is all yours, Michelle.
Is that this one here, general government?
Yeah. If you get something you want to say, if you just want to wait for questions,
I mean, I can go through,
it's up to you.
governing body, that's your selectmen. This is a 7% increase in salary. The gym, as it's kind of just a storage shed at this moment, the electricity cost is down. So there's a decrease there of $400. The office assistants, there are 2 of them. This is 7% increase, 53 weeks for each one of them.
That shows a decrease, am I looking at the right one? Office assistant?
It is a decrease because we had a change of staff, so we have,
gotcha.
we have a lesser starting rate. On the municipal management, nothing huge there. We do have a variable in the audit expenses. We're still out to bid right now, so we don't know the final price of the audit. Everything else is pretty much contractual. That heating fuel, we saved a lot on heating fuel with these new heat pumps this year. We did see some increase in electricity in the coldest months, but the propane did go down quite a bit.
The increase in the electrical, does that exceed the about 30% that CMP is going up on about everybody?
No.
No, okay.
A major decrease is the debt service. We paid off the sand and salt building this year, so we don't have that debt payment. The fire department tanker loan, that's 1 year's payment. We do have a proposal to pay off that loan this year, and the balance of that will be found in a separate article.
If that occurs, will this 70,000 for 23 not be necessary?
No, because we have to budget for the year.
Yeah.
So that's in the budget. The payoff is a separate article, so if that failed, we still have to have the money somewhere.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but if it passes and we pay it off, then we should expect a savings in this line of
Yeah, oh, yes,
70,000?
yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Michelle, how is the interest calculated on that fire truck loan?
How do you mean?
Is it rule of 78? Is it simple interest?
It is simple interest.
Simple interest, okay. So we're not paying the bulk of it up front?
Right.
Well, it's calculated on the declining balance.
Oh, I understand that.
No, just to clarify that.
If it's rule of 78, you're paying all interest up front. So if this matures in 3 more years, we've already paid the bulk of the interest, if it's rule of 78.
Yeah, because you...
So they would be,
Yeah, that's why we're trying to get rid of all these debts.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay interest unless we have to. We got the money, we do it, because it's debt free.
well, yeah, like I said, it depends on how the interest is calculated, as to whether it,
Well, we looked at, I mean, I looked at it myself as, don't matter if it's front loaded or rear loaded, you pay it off, it's gonna be paid one way or another.
yeah. But you reach a point, no, some of them, you use their money,
Yeah, and that's, back when we bought this fire truck, it was my idea to take the loan. We probably could have taken the money out of the undesignated fund, but the reason why I thought it was a good idea was, okay, we go and get a loan for a low interest rate, okay, until we come into a year like we have in the last 2 years where we have extra funds, then we can go and do it. And so far, it's worked out well in the last 2 years to be able to do that.
If I could just clarify that the term front-loaded on insurance, on interest, I'm not familiar with. Basically what it is the balance, the interest is applied against, the interest rate is applied against whatever the balance of the loan is. So as you pay off parts of the loan, the balance goes down and therefore your interest goes down. But the amount you're paying in interest in any given year is the rate times whatever the balance is on the loan. So, there's no front-loading that I can think of in there, so I'm not quite sure.
you'd have to look at the amortization schedule in order to see how much interest you're paying at the front and how much at the end.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's always
not
gonna
like
be
you're
less at
paying-
the
yeah.
end. It's always gonna be less at the end.
But it could be a significant, I know I've had loans, in past years where all of the interest was pretty much paid up front. So your principal wasn't declining a whole lot initially, and then at the end, everything was going toward principal just about.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mortgage works like that, right?
it's the way all of them.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle? What's next?
Let's see here, we also paid off the Go Hill loan this year, so there's a decrease there of about $16,000. Municipal management as a whole is down 59,000. I did move, Janice will be happy, we have moved the contract deputy into public safety this year.
Thank you.
So those numbers have been adjusted accordingly. Elections is a 0 increase. Registrar of voters is 7%. Finance is 7%, 53 weeks. Other than that, just a little bit on the mileage and tolls for increase. The town administrator is 7% on 53 weeks. Just a little bit of reduction in equipment, the tax billing and mileage. A lot of our workshops have switched to completely online. So that's been helpful in saving some mileage money there for the town administrator. Assessing is a slight increase based on contract, $2,600. That's assessing, that's also your tax and map maintenance, your online mapping.
Do we still put that assessing out to bid, Michelle? No.
It hasn't been out to bid for quite some
Long
time.
time.
It's a hard one to put out to bid, you know.
No, I agree.
Kinda like the auditor, right?
I was just curious.
Land use, salaries are an increase of 7%, 53 weeks. There is a decrease on the land use secretary, that's just because of timing and changing of the guards. And then, not under general government, but under health and welfare, we have increased the health officer stipend to $500 a year as opposed to $240. Throughout this pandemic, we have relied on the health officer to attend briefings and so forth and provide guidance throughout the whole shutdown. We're certainly using that service 10 times more than we ever did.
She was a huge help during the crackdown.
So overall, general government is a decrease of $44,390.
And some of that, Michelle, is because the decrease in, people working downstairs.
Yes, that as well.
Yeah.
That is the biggest decrease there,
Michelle, do we still use the services of, what's it? Sorry?
North Star?
Yeah, I know, but that I know it comes under something else. No, I'm thinking as a deputy CEO, we were using Mike.
We are still using Mike periodically, kind of as a stepping stone, and if...
Much needed, no argument.
Well, what happened
Yeah,
is,
and next year, you know, ideally, Jason will be in the swing of things. And,
There's a
you know,
curve, and it's
somebody
doing a
that
good job.
can do an
and-
inspection when he takes the day off.
Right. No, I was just,
COVID last year, you know.
oh, yeah,
Oh, we got 2 weeks, people need their inspection for 2 weeks.
right,
And it's nice
exactly.
there that Jason, if he has any questions, you know, he uses that service all the time.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Mike's been really good to us.
Yeah, where would that, I don't see that, I see, and I guess that deputy CEO is not what that meant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or did it mean that, and it's gone now?
Deputy CEO, it's still there, just
No change, just no change.
Yeah, no change.
I have a question on some of the salaries. You said it was all 7%?
7%.
Am I
with the
adding,
53rd week.
am I multiplying the 7% by the wrong number?
Yeah,
Because-
so you would take, basically, we take their weekly salary, or what they would make based on the hours that they work weekly, and increase that by 7%, and we're adding an extra week in.
Okay, because I just took the budget amount and multiplied it by 7%, and it doesn't.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It probably comes more like 9%.
Okay, I just wanted to double check I was multiplying the right figures, and apparently I'm not. Okay.
So if you took that figure and divided it
By 7, it's
by 52, and then, you got the weekly wage. But, for instance, like the office assistants that we work based on this year's budget.
See you next week.
right. But I looked at finance, town administrator, and CEO. And,
Okay.
so, but if what was budgeted for 22, but they actually got paid, then it wouldn't be right.
Right.
Okay.
Same with this.
Oh, got it.
The budgets were pretty much created on some of those positions that were open last year before the new people got hired, so. And then we'll lower it.
Michelle, the agenda thing we gave you tonight, after talking with you and Jen today, and I had set the agenda before I had the conversations with you guys today. So some of this stuff, like the capital improvement, the ARPA funds, bonuses, and that we're talking about, that'll all be at our meeting next week.
Right, yeah, yeah, so the board is having a public hearing on Wednesday for the ARPA funds, and based on the input that they get at the public hearing, they will hopefully make some decisions at their meeting on how they want to put the ARPA money forward, or if they want to put the ARPA money
Right.
forward, and how that will affect any of the capital improvement funds.
What is ARPA money?
Sorry, American Rescue Plan Act.
Oh, gotcha.
And I'd put that on there because we hadn't discussed any of it, and like I said, after talking to Jen and Michelle today,
Is that the social services line?
No.
no. The social services line, I guess you want to go over that, Michelle? Do you have that with you or no?
I have the social services, so the board is putting forward, from what I understand, the board agreed to put forward as they were requested. So everything that is requested in your books is how they plan on putting it forward in the warrant.
Except for that one nursing,
Yes.
Cornerstone Nursing,
Cornerstone.
they were leaving,
Because they don't benefit.
they were leaving that one out.
So that was.
Maybe not, I mean,
Yeah, so that was, so glad we had this conversation.
That was the only one. Yeah.
just how it is. So hopefully we'll have that for next week, and we can start voting on stuff. Yeah. Another issue.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Do you have
Marguerite,
an
I'm sorry.
overall percentage increase on this one?
On
The municipal that we just went over? If you don't, it's not a big deal, I just,
Yeah.
talking about percentages.
I thought it was down,
I think it is.
is it?
yeah.
Right here.
Oh, I see. Is that the total down 44,390?
Yeah.
Paid off all the
Okay.
big bills.
Thank you, I missed that, sorry.
Yeah, so it's a 4% increase.
Nice.
Is this gym still being used? No. I was just wondering on the electricity, because when I drive by at
Storage in there, but, it's not being used.
I drive by at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I see the lights on in that building. Is that necessary to have them on?
No, and I can't think of why the light would be on.
That was big.
Maybe somebody forgot to shut it off.
Lori put stuff in there?
Yeah, the rec is using it for
Okay, they probably
storage.
left the lights on. The rec leaves with some of their stuff in there.
We'll mention it to them. Because that's usually not on, it should be.
Everybody all set with municipal? there is one more thing I'd like to bring up on that, is us paying for maintenance for Sanford's property down there on Mousom, down by the dam. We're spending, the agreement was, when we went into this agreement, we would put $5,000 a year towards the maintenance of the dam. And we did that for quite a while, and we're still gonna continue to do that. But, and the town meeting voted to do that. Somehow, and I've spoken about this for several years now, we got corralled into paying for the maintenance of the property.
In addition to the.
Not the dam.
Not the dam, I'm talking about
Okay.
landscaping, lawn care, rubbish removal, mowing. And I've had issue with this for quite a while, because this property is owned by the town of Sanford, and they should be maintaining their own landscaping. Now, Shapley obviously has been paying the same thing, but Shapley has the benefit of collecting in excess of $3,000 in property taxes from the town of the city of Sanford on that property. I don't agree with it at all. And some of the complications we've had in the last year, dealing with the city of Sanford over that operation down there, I think is terrible. And I think the way our town administrator was treated by the city of Sanford over some of the issues down to the dam was terrible. And I would like to see us get out of maintaining that property down there.
How do we go about doing that?
Vote the article down at town meeting.
Okay.
Because the contract that we signed with the town of Shapley and the city of Sanford was contingent on a budget approved by town meeting.
Now, is that for the maintenance of the dam and the property, or just the dam? Because it sounds like we're...
The town meeting voted just for the dam.
Just for the dam.
But when the money was added in for the maintenance, Michelle's 100% right. It was voted in that way. On the annual budget.
Separate article?
So the contract, if you will, was for maintenance of the dam, but the money in the budget has been for maintenance of the dam and the property?
Gotcha.
Well,
Is that right?
so if,
100%.
the problem you have is anybody, you've been to some bridge courses, correct? Anybody? So Sanford's, they're gonna use the excuse, okay, you've gotta cut the brushes, brush and everything around the dam, so the roots don't get into the, this and that, they're gonna use that as an excuse, that's why.
Which is absolutely, is true.
Which is true, so in theory, you know, the price is a little steep, I think, for what they're charging both towns, but in theory, that's part of the maintenance of the dam.
But that's misleading from the intent of why we started that agreement.
Well, I can understand that, but if we have maintenance of the dam, that's what the article says, correct?
Agree.
Okay, so maintenance of the dam would be taking care of the grounds around it.
Well, that's a philosophical thing, because it's not true.
Leslie, you've been to that bridge class, and you're supposed to get keep all the vegetation down, all your roots, all the trees. That's why they cut the trees down, you gotta keep it mowed.
The roots will damage the...
And so, you know, and anybody that knows that that's how you maintain a dam.
Doesn't mean you have to plow it, pay to plow it, doesn't mean you have to pay.
Well, you know,
It doesn't
there's
mean to
nothing
pay,
there to say-
let me finish, David, I didn't interrupt you. It doesn't mean we have to pay to mow the grass, it doesn't mean we have to pay to remove the rubbish, it doesn't mean we have to do all that. That's all I'm saying. And the town of Acton got snookered into this, and it's not right.
I know how to fix this
Take this under
problem.
advisement, and we'll at least just take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm
And
fine with
understand
that.
if there's an issue or not, and If not, we'll,
But we're getting pretty close to, time where we have to sign this warrant, okay?
no, I'm not.
But what
I'd leave it the way it is.
there's a way to fix that problem.
Yeah.
There's two ways, okay? You can either vote it down, or you can amend the article to lessen the amount. Okay, now if you don't like the amount we're paying for the maintenance, but you think that we should be maintaining it, then you can lower the amount if you feel like that. But this has gone through every year for a reason. And Shapley's doing the same thing. I hate to say that we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, but it's kind of the right thing to do.
I'm not suggesting we change the amount, David.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, why don't we just take a look at this offline? Let's leave the budget as it is, let's take a look at it offline and see if we can't, if it's reasonable and appropriate, we'll talk about that and report it out at a selectment meeting. If we think there's something that ought to change, we can talk about that as well.
But
Leave it as it is.
But we put that through, as it is right now, we'll be talking about something we just put through to town meeting.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for next year.
No, understandable.
For next year.
I get that.
Let's try to resolve this one way or the other. If there is an issue, let's figure out what it is. If there's no issue, we'll report that out. Fair enough?
Yeah.
I guess my question is on the ordinance, when it's at the town meeting, is it clear that we're having to pay for these services that you don't feel that should be paid for? Is that explained, or is it just, my experience with ordinances, they're 75% confusing to the public anyway?
Whether it's clear or not, it seems to me that we've got a long-standing agreement that has been in place that is in cooperation with three other towns, Shapley, Acton, and Sanford. And before we just unilaterally change that, I think we owe it to take a look at it and talk to the parties and, try to, if we think it's inappropriate, then change it. And that we can bring forward in next year's warrant.
That's all I was saying, Tom.
I know that
Thank
it
you.
does. I'm just saying, thank you for raising it, and I'd like to just take a look at it, but let's leave the warrant as it is for this year.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll deal with it next, this coming year.
So is there anything else? I think that about does it, doesn't it?
Do we need to talk about the municipal parking lot, or is all that stuff being?
No, that'll be next week.
Okay.
The selectmen haven't made any decisions on any of that stuff at all yet. I did put the fire department on there, but I believe that is pretty much set by the selectmen at this point.
I do have a copy of the fire department budget as we've discussed. If the board agrees that that's how it's going to be put forward.
I think we'll look at it on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we'll look at it on Wednesday, but I think we talked about it.
I think we've hashed it out pretty well.
I think we've,
You think so, Kim?
I just wanted to have that just so everybody was on the same page. That's the reason why I had it on there.
Okay. And then Tucker, no more Tucker?
Tucker resigned.
Tucker resigned.
Yeah. And so next week, I'm not quite sure. Michelle, are you and Jen coming next week?
I will not be here, I have parent teacher conference.
Okay, yeah, but Jen will be here.
Jen said she will be here if you would like her to be here.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to tell you why Jen wasn't here tonight. She wanted me to let everybody know she had a planning board meeting over in Lebanon, and they only have one a month, so she...
Right, I notified everybody why she...
We're here next Monday at 6, right?
Yeah, so next Monday, we are going to, hopefully go over the zoning ordinance in a short manner, so that if you have any questions about it, please email me and I'll get them through to Jen and Jason.
That's these two here, that's for
The
next
two new
week.
ones, yeah.
Those are the two.
Those are the ones they changed.
The other ones already.
Okay.
If you don't have them, let me know, because I have the copies.
And we'll go over the...
Should have had them.
We'll go over the
No.
other projects, that we haven't heard any decision on yet, like the parking lot, the rec field, many other things, and what they're gonna do with the ARPA funds and, what they wanna take and put in reserves, and
And that's what,
we'll have that conversation next week after the selectmen make a decision. Because we have, I believe, 2 meetings left on our schedule.
on the schedule, 2 meetings left.
2 meetings left,
Which
ones are those?
To have
the following 2 Mondays.
So the 11th and then the 18th,
Yeah,
also 6 PM here, right?
and hopefully, we'll have made our recommendations.
Dennis, when do our recommendations have to be done?
I think it's,
I think initially we
it's
said,
26, was it?
yeah, and that schedule was kind of created back when we didn't know whether we'd be able to be massive free at the school or not. So I think we have some more leeway in time there.
There might be a
Because,
little,
But I'd like for peace of mind
right,
to
absolutely,
get it done,
yeah.
on schedule if we can.
So you're saying we should be done the 18th? Is that what you're saying?
Whatever, the next 2 Mondays.
yeah, the 11th and the 18th.
I would hope so. That's what talking to the town administrator today. That's our goal.
All right.
And there is another, like she said, there is another
I
Monday,
don't have
but
the other two.
I'll make sure you have
I
them.
believe it's at
I don't know what else we can talk about. We've asked
No, if we-
questions.
if
and-
we can get it done,
Right at
we
the
can
regular
let's get it
meeting,
done.
we'll open it up as a meeting, then what we'll do is we'll move into, that's typically how we normally do it. So,
Are the taxpayers entitled to a current town report? A town report from last year, are we entitled to one?
You are, I don't believe they've come in yet,
Have they gone to the printers yet?
last I knew.
Ray, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, Dave.
6 o'clock.
At one of the selectmen meetings, there had been some discussion on, the social services and how they had been requesting, from the Great East Lake Association, which they work, as you had discussed, work with other departments, AW, or whatever it is, and whatnot. And then, there was some mention of the lawsuit that happened, from that. We're still looking to donate to the Great East. I understand that, but I mean, there's, they have quite a bit of funds, in those organizations.
And I brought that up.
Right, and I know that, the other organizations where they use the kids to come to properties and help do some of that stuff, that's also a separate, they're asking for money on that aspect. And I was just wondering if you guys have made a decision with the Great East to go ahead and donate to them.
Or any of them?
We talked about it last week. It was last week, right? Yeah, it was last week. And, no, I was on the side of not because of some of the issues we've had. But after the discussion we had last week, I said that I would support putting them through. If it was something that had to be changed at town meeting, then they can be pulled off. I didn't want to hold that back. Unfortunate about the whole situation is, we don't want to take, just because, say, Great East, we'll use Great East for instance, because that was the one where we were having the issues with the lawsuit, okay? We don't want to say that Bulch Lake doesn't get funds just because of Great East and what they're doing. But at the same time, there was nothing showing where all this money is actually getting spent on what and how much and this and that, so there was some confusion there, so that's why, you know, believe it or not, having that open town meeting, you're able to discuss that. And you can go down through that warrant, and it's been done before many times where, they've amended the Red Cross, they've amended different, social services if they feel that they didn't want it. I just felt that, put it on there.
We also talked about for next year, when any of the social services are gonna be asking for this, we want, you know, they need to fill out something that tells us what they have, how much they're asking for, why they're asking for.
That was my next question.
Much more detailed.
And what they're going to, what they intend to use the
Well,
funds
you
for.
know, some of them, I think you like the lake ones, those there, I think I would be more interested to see where the money is going.
Right.
What projects, on the stuff like your community action and stuff like that, that's a little different, I think. So I think you could, you know, specify out of the certain ones, hey, we like to know this.
So there was discussion also that a letter was to be sent out to those organizations for
Well, we
that.
haven't completely decided that yet, but that's what we plan on next year.
For next year, not this year, but next year, yeah.
Just so you know, Ray, that, and I'm sure you know it anyway, we haven't seen anything officially yet from the Board of Selectmen. You know, things change week to week sometimes, and we'll know better after Wednesday night, hopefully.
Years ago, they used to come in, send a representative for each thing, and they used to come in and
Talk to us.
It was interesting, because then you could ask questions.
I sat through many of them, Joe. I sat through many of them up here at this table.
That's where you learn to listen.
That's right.
There it is. There it is.
And now,
With that, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.